My next guest has worked with companies from all over the world. Her experience spans between high-growth startups, large-scale corporations and NGOs. She has been successful in partnering with CEOs, founders and investors to grow their companies, as well as established corporate leaders to expand their organizations into international markets. It's my pleasure to welcome Angeley Mullins, the CMO and CGO at Latana. Welcome to the program.
Nice to be here.
So what exactly drew you to a career in marketing? Not every child grows up or goes, I want to be in marketing, but it sounds like you've had some very successful navigations in the sector. Tell us more.
I always love consumer behavior, what makes people tick, what makes people buy products, and it's really about just understanding people and what motivates them. So I've really been honored to be able to work for some of the most leading companies across the world, like Amazon, GoDaddy, Intuit, and I'm currently the CMO and CGO at Latana, and we focus on consumer insights and brand tracking.
Okay, so the technology Latana uses is pretty impressive, I hear. Can you tell me a bit more about it and unpack it for our audience?
Sure. So basically what we do is we have an AI-powered technology, and we use mobile optimized surveys around the world. So everybody nowadays usually has a mobile device, and the idea is how can we use that connection to really understand the perception of human behavior? So whether it is a company that's trying to grow in a different location, or whether it's a company that's just trying to do a brand or a rebranding, they want to understand the perception of their target audience. And by having these mobile optimized surveys, we can put them on panel partnerships and platforms around the world. So if you watch YouTube, or you're doing a game, or you're doing shopping online, and you get that survey, it's an opt-in technology. You know you're completing the survey, and you give those insights so you can help marketing and branding leaders make better decisions.
Again, with this brilliant navigation, it's very clever. So what major opportunities do you see for brand tracking, I suppose, and Latana as the consumer landscape continues to change shape?
It's a great question. And really what the past 2 years showed us is that consumers are really focusing on what they want and what's important to them. And so what our brand tracking provides is the context behind the data. The past 10 years for marketing has been riddled with data analytics platforms and return on ad investment spend, but we've gotten to this arena of data paralysis and not understanding the context behind it. So we provide insights like brand awareness, preference, consideration in the brand funnel, but also key insights like associations. How do consumers associate with a brand? And that makes the critical difference to a branding strategy, a marketing strategy, or even a go-to-market launch.
Okay, well here's one for you, Angeley. What is the biggest challenge you currently see as a company, perhaps with what consumers are doing, or maybe internally what you guys are up to? What are some of the challenges that you guys overcome?
The biggest challenge in the consumer landscape is getting it right. A lot of companies, especially in the past 5 years, they think they understand what consumers want and their preferences, but a lot of times in our data, what we find is they're missing the mark. So this is the critical element that can make or break a company's strategy. And because consumer preference has changed quite drastically over the past few years, it's super important to get it right. And the best way to do that is by asking them.
Angeley, what advice would you give those in the tech industry today, perhaps those who are developing tools that people like yourself make use of? And what are some things that they need to be aware of or should be considering that perhaps they're not?
One of the things is to go back to the basics. A lot of times, because of the technology that's out there, a lot of strategy and executive leaders, they think that they can just use those tools and it will create that strategy for them. I would say start from the beginning, understand your brand, understand your consumer identity, understand what your customers want, and take it from there. And it's more important than ever to do that. So go back to the basics, a little bit more old-fashioned, but I say the golden rule really does prove its way.
Absolutely. The analog method, just to start off and understand yourselves a bit better. Angeley, thank you so much for joining us on the program and sharing your insight today and for telling us a little bit more about Latana.
Thank you.